Oh, hello YouTube. Today on The Naughty Librarian, I'm officially doing my latest episode of Drunk Classics, and this time I read The Odyssey by Homer. So I'm really excited to read it because I kind of know like bits and pieces of the story because it's Greek mythology. We've all heard it. It's kind of ubiquitous at this point. So I know some things that happen in it, but I've never really read the source material. So I am excited to get into the nitty gritty and see all the cool stuff. But I also worry that after I drink enough wine, I'm not going to be pronouncing anything correctly. I think even Odysseus is going to be really hard to say. So we'll find out. I might just nickname everybody. Who knows what's going to happen. But in honor of this Greek voyage I'm about to go on, I got some Greek wine. I got this one. It's Assyrtiko. There you go. And it's a white wine. It's supposed to be crisp, full-bodied. I'm gonna try it out. I am nervous though because that white wine is 13.5. So it's a little boozy for a white. So things are gonna get interesting around here. Hello. So I decided I was going to make a power move and I was going to read the whole thing. And I did. I read the whole thing. It took me 4 hours and I drank the whole time. But here's the thing. If you drink a constant amount and you space it out, you don't get crazy drunk. So I am feeling great, but I am not the room is not spinning. I'm just having a good time. I think this is probably glass 6. I am not 100% sure because I just kept refilling. So first things first, this story, right? I immediately realized that the Odyssey is actually a sequel to the Iliad. I didn't know which one came first, but it's very clear that the Iliad came first. So it feels weird. It feels like you're coming in on season 2 of a TV show and you're like, wait, what happened in season 1? I'm gonna have to use a lot of context clues to figure things out. So already I was like, wait a minute, I don't know what's happening. Odysseus, right? He's been away from home for a super long time. It's been 20 years because he went off and fought in the Trojan War because he was buddies with Menelaus. I'm hoping I can keep saying the word Menelaus because it's very difficult. But okay, so Odysseus, he went off with Menelaus, Achilles and stuff. They went to Troy and they're like, I'm fighting, la la la. And he was in the horse. Odysseus was in the horse of the Trojan horse. He was in it. So he was a cool guy, right? And then he's just trying to go back home to Ithaca after the war. And it took him 20 years because he can't listen or follow directions to save his life. Literally. But I digress. So we starts off here. You have Odysseus. He's been gone for a long time. And all the gods are just hanging out. And they're like, oh my gosh, Odysseus, he's so cool and he has nice hair and we should help him. I'm way into Odysseus right now. And they're all cool with this, except the problem is Poseidon, right? Poseidon is not on Odysseus' side. He doesn't like him. He's been fucking with him for 20 years. He doesn't like this guy. He's like, fuck him. I don't care. I'm gonna screw up his life. So they have one god who's not on board with the help Odysseus plan. But they're like, don't worry about it. We'll trick him. It's gonna be okay. So here's what they do. Athena, right? She comes down and she's like, hey, Telemachus, who's Odysseus' son, Telemachus. Or discreet Telemachus. Everybody has an adjective in front of their names in the book. He's discreet Telemachus. And then there's wise Odysseus. And white-armed Penelope, she has really white arms. I don't really understand that one, but okay. And then clear-eyed Athena, they all have an adjective, a fun little thing that they do. She comes down and she's like, Telemachus, listen, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna get in a boat, right? And you're gonna go look for your dad because he needs to get over here. Because what had happened is, in this meantime, all of these suitors have descended upon the palace trying to marry Penelope. And like, I say descended because they're just like a pack of horny locusts. They're just eating them out of house and home, being the worst fuckboys known to man. It's like a frat house moved into your house and you can't get rid of them. Like, that's what it's like, and he's not having it. And they're always like going, hey, Telemachus, like, just let us fuck your mom. And he's like, no, why would I let you fuck my mom? Like, are you out of your damn mind? And like, it's just a problem, okay? So Athena comes down and she's like, hey, listen, get on a boat, go find your dad. We're gonna help out. It's gonna be cool. First stop, they gotta go to Pylos, right? And he talks to this guy who, Nestor. He talks to a guy named Nestor, right? And he knew Odysseus back in the day, and he's like, hey, Nestor, what's the tea? Like, have you seen my dad? What's going on? And Nestor, like, tells him, like, a bunch of stuff about, like, the whole Clytemnestra Agamemnon debacle. I'm like, we're not even gonna get into all that. Short version is, the wife murders him. He was probably shitty anyway, but she like murdered him with her lover, and it's like a whole family drama mess. Anyways, lots of murder in this family. But that's all he knows. He's like, yeah, I was up to that point and I don't know what happened after that. But if you want to know what happened after that, go find this guy Menelaus, my anus. They go to the next island. They go to a next spot to go see Menelaus. And he's Helena Troy's husband. And he's like, yeah, I know your dad. Your dad was super cool. Like, he fought in the horse and got me and my wife back. And then he tells him this whole wild story. He's like, hey, one time I was on this island, right? And the sea god was mad at me, so I tricked him by pretending to be a seal. And then he told me that Odysseus was still alive, and he's marooned on this island with this lady named Calypso, who's like a minor goddess. Like, she's keeping him there, but he's alive and he's on this island with Calypso. So he's like, hot damn, cool, here's a lead. So Athena goes over to the gods, and she's like, hey, listen, I figured it out. Calypso has him on this island. Hey, Hermes, go tell her to let him go, because she's being a little bitch about things. She has to let him go. She's had him for like 7 years. He needs to go home. Like, go tell her what to do. So that's like their whole plan, which doesn't make sense to me, because aren't they gods? Like, why didn't they just know where he was? Like, don't they have like godlike powers? Like, they're not really all that fucking useful, honestly, in this, but whatever. But anyway, I digress. Meanwhile, to all that happening, the suitors, they finally figure out, hey, Telemachus actually got on a boat and left. Because they didn't think he was really going to do it, because, like, they thought he was just talking shit. And they're like, oh, no, he got on a boat. What if he finds him? Like, we can't let that happen. We all want to bang his mom. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a boat, right? We're going to put it out there in the ocean. It's where boats go. And then, like, when he's coming back home, we'll just, like, kill him. Plan solved, because as soon as we kill Telemachus, we'll totally get to bang his mom, you know? And they say romance is dead. Like, I don't know how they thought this was gonna work in their favor. They're like, hey, guess what? We killed your son. Want to get married? Like, obviously, they're not helping their cause. They're just the worst on every level. They're so dumb. I don't know how they got this far in life, but whatever. Hermes, back to that. Hermes goes to Calypso. He's like, Calypso, like, give the boy a raft, send him on his way. Zeus wants you to do it. And she's like, ugh, fine. So she gives him a raft, and he gets on the raft, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go home. I'm Odysseus. I'm on a little raft. And he's happy. And then Poseidon figures out that Odysseus is on the water, and he's like, oh, y'all thought you were clever. You trying to trick me? I'm gonna throw a sea storm at him. Bam! So he throws a sea storm at Odysseus, and then he's like, oh no! And then like some sea nymph gives him like a life jacket. Like, I don't know. It's like a coat. It's like a sea coat, and you wear it, and like it's a life jacket. I don't know. It's a life jacket, ancient Greece life jacket. And then he floats around for like 9 days in the water. And then finally he washes up on this other island, and he gets there and he's like, yay, I'm on land, and nap. And like, he just takes a nap. He's napping. And then this girl comes out into the forest, right? And she's like the princess. And she comes across this naked bedraggled guy, and she's like, oh shit, here's like a thing, like everyone's super nice to guests. It's crazy in this world. Like she's like, here's like food, here's like a cloak, like put things on because I don't want to see your dick. Like, you know, I think that was really for her benefit mainly, but like she gives him clothes and food and stuff. She's like, hey, listen, like what's going on? But the thing is, here's the thing, Athena's still working her magic, because as soon as he puts on like the tunic she gives him, he's all like boss looking. Like all of a sudden he's just like, oh, I'm glowing and I'm handsome, look at me. And she's like, hey, how are you? I'm a princess. Like, why don't you come back to my house, meet my parents, but like don't come back with me because people are gonna think we were fucking in the forest, so you gotta like come back on your own. So later on, right, Odysseus, he gets to the palace, he meets the king, and he meets the queen, and he's like, hey, can I have a boat, please? Give me a boat. I need to go home. Can I have a boat? And for some reason, they're like, yeah, you can have a boat. You look real cool. Like, you obviously, like, do you work out? You look cool. Like, God's like, you can have a boat. So they're really nice about it. They're just going to give him a boat. But they're like, hey, while we're getting the boat ready, why don't we have a party? Boys, start your games. Like, start wrestling, but do it again slower. I don't know how this is working, but like everyone just starts doing things to entertain everybody. And like there's a bard, right? And he starts singing songs, and he's songs about like Odysseus. And Odysseus is just like crying in the corner because he's sad. And then the king's like, hey, like this is weird. Like, are you Odysseus? And he's like, yeah, you caught me. And he's like, oh shit, like you're like famous and stuff. Like what's been going on? It's been a while since anyone's really like seen you. And he's like, oh, you want to know? Let me tell you. And see, here's the thing that I didn't know going into this, because I thought the Odyssey was about Odysseus's adventure, like the 20 years he was gone. I thought we were going to read like an adventure story. But it's not that. It's only the story of like this like few months. Like it's, I guess, his last year to get home. Because like over the course of like 2 chapters, he just goes through all the shit that happened to him. He's just telling the king like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And then they were back in the present again. So I was just like, wait a minute. Like all of the cool shit in the story is just glanced over like in a paragraph. What? And I'm going to try to tell you all the things that happened, but I know I'm going to miss some because why? So here we go. So like it's the Trojan War, right? They fight, la la la. And then they're going to go home. But on the way, they stop by this place. I think it was Egypt. I'm not sure, but they stop there and they sack a city. And he's like, hey guys, like we sacked the city. We got the riches and stuff. Like, let's get back on the boat and go home. And they're like, nah, we're going to party. And they get real drunk and stuff. And since they took so long partying, people got called in for reinforcements. So then like all these people come to go fight them off, and they're like, oh fuck. And so they have to run away, and he loses a bunch of men through their own stupidity, right? So now he's on a boat again. He's like, all right, let's go home. Let's go home. We gotta go home. And they're going, and they get to this island, and then it's an island where everyone eats lotus. Like everyone eats these plants, you know, like koalas eating eucalyptus. They just eat lotus, and the lotus is like all druggy, and they're like, ooh, you don't want to go home no more. You like lotus now. You're going to eat lotus and live here. And then they're like, nah, we're good. So some people get addicted to lotus, but they leave anyway. So they leave that island. And here's where shit starts going really badly. So they get to this other island, right? And it's an island full of cyclopses, whatever. I don't know what the plural of cyclops is. And so they go on the island, and they're trying to figure shit out. And they go in this cave, right? And there's all these like sheep in it, and all the guys are like, hey, we're hungry, let's eat some sheep. So they like eat a sheep, and they're eating all this food they just found in a cave. Like obviously this belongs to someone, and they're stupid. And so, wouldn't you know, it belongs to a cyclops named Polyphemus. And he is not a nice cyclops. So he gets home, he has this big boulder he puts in front of his door. Like, he doesn't have a door, he just has a boulder to, like, cover the front of his cave. And then, like, he milks his sheep, and then, like, he eats things. And he's just like, what the fuck are you doing here? I don't know you. You weren't invited. And they're like, hey, so, like, what's up? They don't really have a good excuse to be there. And he's just like, no, fuck you guys. And he eats them. He eats like a couple dudes, and this goes on for a few days. So he eats like a couple dudes a day. Like he just starts eating his men. And Odysseus is like, no. This is going poorly. We need to get out of here. The big plan here, they're gonna drug the Cyclops, right? And then once the Cyclops gets all sleepy, they're gonna stab him. And so that's what they do. They give him wine that's drugged, he gets all sleepy, and then like Odysseus blinds him. He stabs him in the eyeball a whole bunch. And like this is a big deal for Cyclopses because they only got the one. It's not like they have another spare eye. Like they only have the one eye. It's kind of a big deal to take it out. They basically wanted him to move the boulder in front of the door because they weren't big enough to do it. So blinding him was the obvious way of making him move the boulder. I don't know how that worked. But anyways, he does move the boulder eventually. And he's like, oh, I'm going to sit in front of the door and I'm going to catch the people running by me. But here's the kicker. They hide in the sheep. They like hold on to sheep and they sneak out on the sheep. So they get out and they're running away and they finally get to the boats, right? And then the boats and they're like, yeah, we're getting away. And here's the thing that could have changed the whole course of the story. Because fucking Odysseus has to have the last word, right? He's just like, hey, Polyphemus, fuck you. When someone says what happens to your eye, you tell them Odysseus did it. Suck my balls. And here's the thing though, like if he just said nothing, he probably would have went home. It would have been fine because like the Polyphemus didn't know his name. He didn't know who did it to him. And since now he knows his name, he's like, oh, you're gonna fuck with me? Okay, I'm gonna tell my dad on you. Because guess who Polyphemus's dad is? It's fucking Poseidon. And this is why Poseidon is so fucking pissed off at Odysseus for the rest of the story, because he fucking blinded his kid. So like with reason, like he's upset. He's like, oh no, they only have the one eye and you took it out. Like you suck. I'm mad at you. I'm gonna throw like storms at you and shit. So like, if Odysseus has kept his damn mouth shut, he just had to tell him to suck his balls, I guess. But like, you know, if he would have shut up about it, he wouldn't have told his dad and then he would have got home. It's all Odysseus' fault because he had to be an asshole. So after that, they escape the island finally. And they get to another island. There's so many islands. There's so many islands to get to. So they get this new one, right? And this one has a witch on it. And her name is Circe. And they get there. And he sends some dudes to go see what the deal with Circe is. And she's like, oh, okay, come in, eat some food, drink some drinks. And then she like basically just like roofies them and turns them into pigs. So she's just roofing people into animals. And that's a problem. So Odysseus, he's like, all right, I'm going to go talk to this lady and see if she will stop making my men into pigs. So he goes over there and Hermes is like, hey, what's up? Remember me? I'm Hermes. So this lady, she's going to try to roofie you. Eat this plant. And then when you eat the plant, you won't get roofied. And then you can win against Circe. And so he's like, all right. And he eats the plant. He goes to Circe's house and he has like a bunch of food and he's just like, tasty food. I'll have seconds. And Circe's like, why isn't this working on you? And he's just like, ha, bitch. And he like attacks her and like, he's like, has his knife out. He's like, I'll kill you. And she's like, no. And he's just like, all right, you gotta promise not to hurt me or my men. You gotta turn the other ones back into people. And she's like, okay. So like, that's the beginning of that relationship. But anyway, she turns the other guys back into dudes. And then she hangs out with him and they're there for like a year. They're there for a while. She just like, hey, like, I think it's kind of hot that you almost stabbed me. Like, do you want to come, like, just look at my bedroom? Wink, wink. And he's like, okay. So I'm pretty sure he was banging Circe. Like, it's not super clear in the book, but, like, he was banging Circe. What a dick, am I right? Oh, I want to get home to my wife so bad that you banged, like, a witch on an island. Okay. But anyways, after, like, a year goes by, he's like, oh, shit, I gotta go home. Like, I gotta go home. Like, tell me how to go home. I gotta leave. And she's like, I don't know how to get home, but I know someone who's going to tell you how to get home, but you got to go to the underworld first. So he's like, oh my God, another fucking errand. So he has to go to the underworld and find this guy. And he's like a thief guy. I don't know, Tyrese. I was going to call him Tyrese because I don't know what his name is. But anyways, he has to go find this guy, right? And they go to the underworld next because they have to make another quest. And he goes down there and he finds Tyrese and he's like, hey, what do I gotta do to go home? And then Tyrese is like, yeah, no problem, man. Here's what you gotta do. Like, I know prophecies and shit. And he's like, you gotta go this way. You're gonna see a bunch of stuff. There's like other creatures and whatnots. And then like, there's an island that has a bunch of sheep on them. Like, don't hurt the sheep. Like, that's all you gotta do. Don't hurt the sheep and go home. And then you gotta like kill all the guys who are trying to bang your wife, because that's fucked up. And then make a big sacrifice to Poseidon to make up with them, and like, you're good. And he's like, solid, thanks for the advice. He follows none of it, by the way. So they leave Hades, right? And they're going by, like, then they start going by all the things Tyrese said they're gonna do. So he goes by the sirens, and like, you know, he's like, hey, listen, everyone put earplugs in, because otherwise we're gonna crash the damn boat. So all the men put in earplugs, and they just sail along past the sirens. Odysseus doesn't put on earplugs for some reason, and he's like, I want sirens. But anyway, they get past the sirens, so far so good. The one thing, they're doing well. And then they run into sea monsters. It was Scylla and Charybdis, and they're sea monsters. And they're like, oh shit, sea monsters. And you know what? It goes relatively okay. They lose a few guys, they get eaten, but like, they make it out. And they're like, all right, cool. And next day, they see an island. It's the sheep island. And Odysseus is like, hey guys, let's just keep going past this island. Let's not even fuck with it. Like, I heard bad things about this island. But everyone in the crew just starts pouting so much that he's like, oh my God, fine. We can go to the goddamn island. Just don't like kill any sheep. That's all you gotta do. You can hang out. Just don't kill any sheep. And they're like, okay, wink. And like, you know what they do? They like immediately go to that island, and the crew is just like, man, fuck these sheep. And they like kill a sheep. And here's the thing. The sheep belonged to Helios, who's a sun god, and like, he really liked these sheep, so he is mad. I don't know what it is with like people and their sheep, but they're really attached to them in this book. Like, everybody has like sheep, and like, you don't fuck with their sheep. And they did it when Odysseus was sleeping, right? So Odysseus wakes up and he's just like, I gave you all one job. Like, one job, just not to eat the sheep, and you ate the sheep. Get on the boat. We're leaving. Get on the fucking boat. So he's mad. They get on the boat, right? And things go badly from here because the sun god is mad that they fucked with his sheep. So like, they pass by Scylla and Charybdis again. Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, and it goes very badly. Like, the first time they made it out, they lost a few dudes, and they made it out. No. This time it goes very badly, and the whole ship is destroyed. All of the men die. Odysseus survives because he finds like some piece of the boat, and he's like holding on to it, and he just like floats for like a long time, and then he winds up on this like shore of another island, and that's where Calypso lives, and that's where he's been for like 7 years. So like, that takes us back to now. I think I did a good job telling the story. I've given myself a pat on my back because I am drunk. So, the king, right? He heard the whole story, and he's like, wow, that's a good story, man. Like, you should write this shit down. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna finish this party up because like, it's a good party. I want you to tell everybody I'm a good party thrower. So we're gonna finish this party up, and then I'll give you a boat. You can go home. You can borrow one of my boats. No biggie. You can have a boat. I'll even give you some shit too. Like, I am a great host. Tell everyone I'm a great host. And so they do that. They finish the party. Odysseus gets on the boat, and then he immediately falls asleep again. I don't know why he gets so sleepy, and then just like, no one can wake him up for anything. So anyway, they get in the boat, and it's really uneventful. They sail over to Ithaca, and then he's sleepy, and the guys on the boat were like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Should we wake him up? And they're like, nah, it's cool, let him sleep. And so they just like pick him up, put him on the beach, put his shit on the beach, like all the things that the king gave him, and they're like, all right, bye. And they just leave him on the beach. Didn't even wake him up. They just left him on the beach. And they like go home. But anyway, so Odysseus, right? He's on the beach, and he wakes up, and he's like, where am I now? This has to stop happening to me. And Athena shows up, and she's like, guess what? You're on Ithaca. And he's like, no shit. And she's like, yes, shit, you're on Ithaca. And he's like, oh my God, this is great. But here's the thing. He needs to make a plan to get back home and get rid of all the suitors. But he doesn't know who he can trust because he doesn't want to get Agamemnon the whole thing. He doesn't want that to happen to him. He doesn't know what the deal is. So like, Athena, she's like, I got it. I got this. I'm gonna like make you up so you look like a crusty old guy, and then like no one will know it's you, and you can like sneak around. And he's like, done, that sounds like a great idea. So he's like walking around, and he gets to this little like hut, right? And it's like this guy, Eumaeus, I don't know, Maius, we're gonna call him. He gets to Maius's house, and he's like, oh wait, like I know you. Weren't you Odysseus's like shepherd, like herder of animals? And he's like, yeah, that's me. Come on in. You seem like you need a rest for a minute, old crusty man in rags. And he just brings him in his house and gives him all this food. Like, people are very generous to like vagrants in this era. I don't know why. It just was a thing. Anyway, so he brings them in and he's like, hey, have some food and stuff. And then he just goes around talking about how fucking cool Odysseus is. He's like, oh my gosh, Odysseus, he was so cool and so brave, and he had amazing hair. He just basically has a huge boner for Odysseus. And then Athena, she's like, hey, I gotta go get Telemachus. So she goes over to where Telemachus is. He's still with Menelaus. I don't remember. Mr. Helen of Troy. I don't know what his name is right now, but she goes over there and she finds Telemachus, and she's like, hey, guess what? I found your dad. You gotta go home. But by the way, you gotta go the long way, because those suitors, they're trying to kill you. They can set up like a boat trap, so you just gotta go around it. And he's like, those little stinkers. Okay. So he gets on his boat and he goes a long way and gets back to Ithaca. He goes around the trap, basically. The suitors are so dumb, they don't even make a good trap. He just went around it. So he gets back and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go see Maius. And he goes over there and he's like, hey, Maius, what up? And they have like such a family relationship. Like, he keeps calling him father. So maybe this was like his father figure. I don't know. He's like Uncle Maius, okay? And he's talking about like how he was looking for his dad, and he really wants to meet his dad, and he's like loyal, blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, Maius, go tell my mom I'm home, because like I don't want the suitors to know where I am. I'm gonna hide here for a minute because I'm sure they're trying to kill me. And he's like, done, got it. So Maius leaves. He's gonna go tell Penelope that Telemachus is home. And when he leaves, Odysseus is like, hey, Telemachus, guess what? I'm your dad. Like, I guess he like takes off his like robe and he's just like all handsome and shit again. He's like, guess what? I'm your dad. And he's like, oh, you're my dad. And he's like, yup, I'm your dad. And he's like, oh shit. And then they like hug and they have a happy family reunion, even though Telemachus really has never met his dad. Like, he was like an infant when he left. He's never met this guy. So they have this big family reunion and they're happy. And they're like, but like, wait, before we do anything else, we gotta get rid of all these jabronis at the palace who are trying to fuck my mom / your wife. We gotta get rid of them. And they're like, okay, let's plan this out. And they make a plan that frankly isn't all that like difficult to suss out, but basically it's just hey, take all the weapons away and then lock them in a room and then we'll kill them. Like, that's the whole plan. And they're like, cool, we are expert strategists. and then Maius is coming back because he already told Penelope that Telemachus was back, so Maius is coming back. So Athena's like, snap. And then Odysseus is crusty old guy again, because they don't want him getting out that he's back yet. They're doing element of surprise. So he's crusty old guy again. And so it's the next day, they sleep it off, whatever. Telemachus, he's like, all right, I'm going back home. Hey, Maius, take this crusty old guy to the palace. Because, like, hey, he's a guest. Bring him to the palace. And Maius is like, all right, whatever. So Telemachus goes home. He sees the suitors. He calls them a bunch of D-bags. They laugh at him because that's their relationship. And later on, Maius brings, like, crusty guy / Odysseus over to the palace, and he just kind of hangs out there and everyone thinks he's a beggar. And then the suitors are just like such D-bags. They like mock him and they throw shit at him. Like, one of them throws a stool at him, and like, it was a baller move though. He like breaks a stool over him and he doesn't move at all, and he's just like, what? And he's like, I'm gonna sit down now on a different stool. Like, it was like a weird moment. But anyway, Telemachus and Penelope are like, let him stay as a guest. God, stop being a dick. So he's at the palace and he's just sitting there and brooding and listening to people be dicks and talk shit about Odysseus. And he's like, ooh, you don't even know how in trouble you are. You don't even know. None of you know how in trouble you are, but you're going to be in so much trouble. And then later that night, Penelope comes and she talks to the old guy because, like, she hears that, like, he had seen Odysseus at one point. She's like, I want to know what happened. So she's like, hey, old guy, what happened to Odysseus? Because, like, it's been 20 years at this point, and, like, I can't wait any longer. I want to, like, I don't want to marry any of these jabronis because they suck, but, like, I have to, like, there's no, like, recourse I have. So, like, I was trying everything I could think of. Like, I was like, oh, I gotta make a shroud first. And then when I'm done with the shroud, I'll pick a new husband. And then, like, every day she would make a shroud. And then at night she would undo all the work she did. And I shit you not, this went on for 3 years. Went on for 3 years. She was making a shroud. And it only ended when one of her maids sold her out, and she's like, oh, she undoes all her work. I don't know. The maids suck at this, too. Everybody sucks. So, like, she has to finish the shroud. But, like, how fucking dumb are these suitors? They just thought this was a normal amount of time for her to make a shroud. Like, were they that dumb? They're like, wow, it doesn't seem to get any bigger every day. How does this work? I don't know. The mysteries of women. Like, it's went on for 3 fucking years. Like, they are dumb as shit. I can't fathom it, frankly. So Odysseus, he starts telling Penelope, so it's like, no, Odysseus is alive. I seen it with my own eyes. I saw him. He was alive. He's coming back. I swear it. He's gonna be back here very soon, and he's gonna, like, get rid of all these jabronis. And she's like, I wish I could believe you, but I appreciate you giving me hope. Why don't you stay in the palace? Here's, like, a maid. She can, like, wash your feet and, like, give you a bed and stuff. And he's just like, okay. And then it's this old, like, nurse who was, like, Odysseus's nursemaid too. So, like, this is a bad idea. But anyway, so she's washing his feet. And the thing is, they haven't told us this till now, but Odysseus, he has this very, like, recognizable scar on his leg from, like, when he was a kid, like, a boar, like, got him. So he has this very big scar on his leg. And then the nurse is, like, cleaning his feet. And she's like, the scar! And she's like, oh my God, it's you! And she's, like, very happy about it. And he's like, shut the fuck up, lady! Like, you can't tell everybody who I am because I'm working a plan here. Shut the fuck up. But at the end of this, like, whole foot washing situation, Penelope, she's real tired. She's like, listen, I'm tired of all this shit. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get Odysseus's bow out, and, like, I'm gonna set a challenge where that anyone who can string the bow and then shoot an arrow through 12 axes, they just get the fucking palace. And I'll just leave and go off into the sunset and fuck it. Like, I don't want to marry any of them, and I don't want to live here anymore. They can just fucking have it. I'm tired. And Odysseus is like, this is the best idea you've ever had. Because, like, he knows his bow, like, no one's gonna be able to string it and fire it. So he's just like, you should do that. You should do that. Do it right now. So he's, like, talking her into it. And she's like, all right. And she goes to bed and she's all sad and shit. So the next day, Penelope sets the challenge for the suitor. She's like, listen, whoever can fire this bow through all the axes gets the palace. Okay? And I'll just leave. Here you go. This is your thing. Go ahead. And all the suitors try, and they can't do it, of course. And, like, there's this one head suitor guy, and Antonius, I'm gonna call him Antonius. I don't remember if that's his name or not, but that's his name now. Antonius, he's, like, the head suitor guy who's the head asshole. And he's, like, really, like, meh about it. But anyway, it keeps going. Everyone's trying, and no one can do it. And then finally, Chris, the old guy, is like, well, why don't I take a chance? And everyone, like, laughs at him, and head asshole is, like, talking shit again, and he, like, throws shit at him again. Head asshole is also the one who broke a stool on him. Like, he's the head asshole. So, and then eventually Telemachus, he's like, no, I'm gonna put on my big boy pants. And he's just like, hey, all of you, all bitches, fuck off. Like, he's gonna try. I'm saying, it's my house. I say he can try. So finally Telemachus, he's really becoming a man here. So, Odysseus, he gets the bow finally. Odysseus has a weapon. So he's just like, bloop, 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 boo, and, like, he shoots the arrow. He does it all easily. And everyone's like, All the suitors were like, fine, lucky. Like, no one takes him seriously. And he's just like, oh yeah, I am lucky. I'm Odysseus, bitches. And then, like, here's the moment everyone's been waiting for, because this is now the massacre of the suitors. So, like, first things first, he, like, shoots head asshole Antonius in the neck. Like, he's like, and then he's, like, all dead. And then what happens next is just a massacre of arrows. He's like, bam, 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 and he's just shooting bitches right and left, right? And everyone's looking for weapons, but they don't have any because they took him out of the hall. This was the big plan. So it's, like, Telemachus and Odysseus and Athena. Athena shows up because she likes fighting, and they just massacre everybody. They're like, nope, all y'all motherfuckers are dead. So they do that, they kill everybody. It's like a whole thing. And after they kill all the suitors, they just keep killing people, by the way. All of those, like, shitty maids, they round them up too, hang them. And then, like, people who are helping the suitors, oh man, they got, like, creative in, like, what they did to them. And, like, it gets gory for like a hot minute, and we're like, oh my word. like just guts everywhere. It was a lot. But anyway, all the suitors are dead. It's after the battle, right? And they send, like, nurse lady who knows it's Odysseus to go get Penelope. He's like, hey, go get my wife, go tell Penelope, like, daddy's home. And so she goes, and she's like, Penelope, wake up, Odysseus is here. And Penelope doesn't really believe it. She's like, yeah, okay, I'll get out of bed. And so she goes downstairs, and it's crusty old guy, and she's like, I don't think this is Odysseus. You know, she's like, I married him, I kind of know what he looks like. And eventually she's like, all right, I'll talk to him, I guess. And he starts, like, saying things that only Odysseus would possibly know. And she's like, it is you. And then, like, bah, like, the glamour comes off, and he's all handsome again. Like Athena has, like, a flair for drama, I swear. So she, like, bleh, and he's, like, handsome again. And she's like, Odysseus. And they're all happy, and they have a big reunion, and they go to bed, presumably to bang the bejesus out of each other. That's what I'm assuming is happening. Like, tell me they weren't. You can't. It's been 20 years. They're banging the bejesus out of each other. Like, it's intense, probably. So there's that. So after that, it's the next morning, and he's just like, all right, I gotta go tell my dad I'm alive. And he's like, hey, what's up? I'm alive. And the dad's all happy. Another big family reunion. They're very happy. And then Telemachus comes over, and they're having a lovely brunch. But here's the thing. Like, all of the families of the suitors are mighty unhappy that all of their, like, family members have been murdered. So they're like, hey, we gotta go tell, like, Odysseus what's up. We're gonna go kick his butt. Let's make an angry mob. So they do that. They get an angry mob. And then what follows is, like, an intergenerational team up of all time. You know, the dad, and his name is something Shakespeare-y. I don't remember what, Laertes. It's Laertes. Laertes, Odysseus, and Telemachus all team up, and they're like, we're gonna fight these guys. We're gonna fight this angry mob. And they, like, do a little bit. They, like, kill a few of them, and the rest of them are like, you know what? We're good. We're gonna hightail it out of here, guys. We don't want any problems. So the rest of them just run away, and they're like, yay. And I shit you not, that is the end of the book. Like, it just ends. And I was so baffled because, like, the whole time, like, he was told by, like, 3 different people that he has to go home, do all these things, and he gets home, and he has to make this big sacrifice of these animals to Poseidon to, like, make up with Poseidon, and he just doesn't do it. Like, the book ends. It just ends right there. He has not made his sacrifices to Poseidon, and I get it. Like, he's never been good at listening to or following advice or instructions in his whole damn life, but it's just like, come on, like, really? Like, you had one fucking thing to do, which is just, you have to sacrifice 3 animals to Poseidon, and you would have been good. And they don't have that happen. They just end the book, and it's like, what? Oh man, he's just gonna get his ass handed to him again by the sea god. Like, fucking hell. That's the Odyssey. Ta-da! That's the Odyssey. I had an okay time reading this. Like, I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Like, I thought it was fine. I wish I had read the Iliad first, because this is obviously a sequel to it. And, like, I just know who some people are because, like, I understand some of Greek mythology. Like, I know some things about it. But, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing season 1 of the show, so I don't really think like I could give it a full rating without having part 1 of the story like having been read, but like I had a good time with it, I guess. I really wish that more of the story was about the actual Odyssey that he went on for 20 years, because so little of the book was about that. It was like 2 chapters, like 20 pages maximum, telling the whole crazy shit that happened to him, when all of this book was just like the present. It's just like him getting home right now was the main part of the story. So like, I don't know. I wish like they did more with the backstory, essentially, besides just give it anecdotally over a couple chapters. But I don't know. I didn't write it. It's up to Homer. That's what he wanted to do. It's an old book. It's a really old book. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you read the Odyssey? Or hey, what's your favorite Greek myth? What is your favorite Greek mythology story? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want cool exclusive content in early videos, you can join my Patreon. The link is in the description down below. And I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.